They use other people's money to build empires. They borrow at low rates to acquire assets that generate higher returns. This is leverage. Debt is also a powerful tool for tax avoidance. The ultra-rich borrow against assets. They take out loans because a loan isn't taxed. You're often taking on debt for things that lose value. Their debt makes them richer. Debt, a chain for the masses, a rocket ship for the elite. The system is particularly insidious in how it markets debt to you. It takes the most significant debt you will likely ever assume, your mortgage, and cleverly rebrands it as good debt. You are told that buying a house is the cornerstone of the American dream, a wise investment, and a way to build equity. While owning a home can have its benefits, the way the mortgage system is structured for the average person often serves as a powerful tool of control. A 30-year mortgage is a financial chain that tethers you to a specific location and, more importantly, to a steady paycheck for the most productive 3 decades of your life. Think about the structure of that 30-year loan. For the first 10 to 15 years, the vast majority of your monthly payment goes directly toward paying off the interest, not the principal. You are essentially paying rent to the bank, building very little actual equity in the home. The bank collects its profit up front, ensuring it wins even if you sell the house after a few years. This long-term obligation makes you risk-averse. You are far less likely to quit your job to start a business, to move across the country for a speculative opportunity, or to take a stand against your employer when you know that a missed payment could result in losing your family's home. The rich, by contrast, use real estate debt in a completely different way. They don't buy one house to live in, they buy multiple properties as investments. They use mortgages to control valuable assets with as little of their own money as possible. They then rent these properties out, and the rental income from the tenants covers the mortgage payment, the taxes, the insurance, and all other expenses, while still generating a positive cash flow each month. The debt is not being paid by their labor, it is being paid by their tenants. Meanwhile, the property appreciates in value over time, and the loan balance is slowly paid down, building their equity for free. This is the critical difference. For you, your house is a liability in the language of finance. It takes money out of your pocket every month for the mortgage, taxes, insurance, and upkeep. For the rich, their investment property is an asset. It puts money into their pocket every month. You are sold the dream of ownership, but you are handed the reality of a 30-year financial commitment that limits your freedom and mobility. They use the very same instrument, a mortgage, not as a chain, but as a crowbar to pry open the doors to wealth. The term good debt is a piece of marketing genius that convinces you to willingly lock yourself in a cage. The third and perhaps most insidious force in this game is inflation. You experience it every time you go to the grocery store, fill up your car with gas, or pay your rent. It is the steady, creeping increase in the cost of everything. Your salary, however, rarely keeps pace. You might get a small 2 or 3% raise, but if the real rate of inflation is 7%, you haven't received a raise at all. You have actually taken a 4% pay cut. Your money buys less than it did last year. You are working just as hard, or even harder, but you are falling further behind. This is not a natural economic phenomenon. It is a policy. Inflation is, in essence, a hidden tax, and it is the most regressive tax of all because it disproportionately harms the poor and the middle class. Why? Because the majority of your financial world consists of cash and cash equivalents. The money in your checking account, your savings account, and even your emergency fund is constantly losing its purchasing power. You are saving diligently, doing exactly what you were told to do, but the value of your savings is being silently siphoned away. The system is punishing you for saving money in the very currency it issues. It is a game you cannot win by simply saving more. Why do governments and central banks pursue inflationary policies? There are 2 primary reasons. First, it allows them to manage their own massive debts. The government is the world's largest debtor. If they can devalue the currency, they can pay back their enormous loans with money that is worth less than the money they originally borrowed. It is a stealthy way to default on their obligations without officially doing so. It is a transfer of wealth from the holders of the currency, savers like you, to the issuers and debtors of the currency, namely the government and large institutions. Second, inflation forces you to participate in the economy in specific ways. It discourages saving cash and pushes you to either spend your money quickly before it loses more value, which stimulates the consumer economy, or to invest it in the financial markets like stocks and bonds. This funnels your capital into the corporations and financial institutions that form the bedrock of the system. You are given a choice. Watch your money evaporate in a savings account, or risk it in a market that is complex, volatile, and ultimately controlled by the same players who benefit from the inflation in the first place. It's a choice between a slow death and a dangerous gamble. While inflation acts as a silent tax on your cash savings, it has the opposite effect on the assets owned by the rich. This is the crucial secret they understand that keeps them perpetually ahead of the curve. They do not hold their wealth in cash. They hold their wealth in things, in hard assets. They own the businesses that are raising their prices. They own the real estate whose rents and values are exploding. They own the stocks of the corporations whose revenues and profits are increasing in nominal dollar terms. As the value of money goes down, the price of these scarce and productive assets goes up, often by much more than the rate of inflation. Think of it as a rising tide. If you are standing in the water holding a bucket of cash, the rising tide, inflation, threatens to swamp you and wash your bucket away. But if you are the owner of a boat, an asset, the rising tide simply lifts you higher. The rich don't fight inflation. They ride the wave it creates. Their net worth inflates right along with the money supply. While your savings are being devalued, their balance sheet is being magnified. This is how inflation systematically transfers wealth from the working class to the asset-owning class. This dynamic explains why, during periods of high inflation, you hear news of the stock market hitting all-time highs and real estate prices soaring, even as the average person struggles to afford groceries. It seems like a paradox, but it is the system working exactly as intended. The newly created money has to flow somewhere, and it flows directly into financial assets, bidding up their prices. The rich, who already own these assets, receive a massive, unearned windfall. You, who are trying to save enough cash to one day buy these assets, find that the price is always running away from you, faster than you can save. This is why the advice to simply save your money is some of the most destructive financial advice you can receive. Saving cash in an inflationary environment is a guaranteed strategy for losing. The only way to win is to convert your depreciating cash into appreciating assets as quickly as possible. The rich understand this. They use their cash as a temporary tool, a means to acquire more assets. You have been taught to see cash as the destination, the symbol of safety and security. It is a lie that ensures you are always on the wrong side of the inflation equation. To grasp the game, understand inflation. It's not a mystery, but currency debasement, now done via quantitative easing or money printing. Governments spend more than they collect, choosing to create money. Central banks digitally create trillions to buy assets. This act, without added economic value, causes inflation. Expanding money supply debases currency, eroding wealth. New money isn't evenly distributed, it enters at the top. By the time it reaches you, prices have risen. This cycle prints poverty, making saving impossible. The field is flooded with devaluing currency. It's a hidden control, keeping people in economic anxiety. Taxes, debt, and inflation are not three separate issues. They are three interconnected systems that work in perfect, terrifying harmony to maintain the status quo. They form a trifecta of control, a three-sided cage that traps the working and middle classes while enriching the asset-holding elite. Each system reinforces the others, creating a feedback loop that is nearly impossible to escape if you continue to play by the conventional rules. Understanding how they interlock is the key to seeing the full picture of your financial subjugation. Let's connect the dots. The government needs to fund its ever-expanding budget, so it uses the tax system to extract maximum revenue from the wages of its workers. When that isn't enough, it issues massive amounts of debt in the form of government bonds. To make this debt manageable and to stimulate the economy, the central bank prints money to buy those bonds, which causes inflation. This inflation devalues the currency, which acts as a hidden tax on the cash savings of the public. This same inflation, however, drives up the nominal value of assets, like stocks and real estate, which are primarily owned by the rich. The rich then borrow against these appreciating assets a form of tax-free debt to fund their lifestyles. This cycle is a masterfully engineered wealth pump. Your labor is taxed to fund the system. Your savings are devalued by the inflation created by the system. You are encouraged to take on bad debt, mortgages, car loans, which chains you to the system. Meanwhile, the rich pay lower taxes on their asset-based income. They benefit as inflation multiplies the value of their holdings, and they use good debt as a tax-free way to access their wealth, all made possible by the very system your labor and savings support. You are financing your own containment. This is the game. It is not an accident. It is not broken. It is a perfectly designed system of wealth extraction. It uses the tax code to punish labor and reward capital. It uses debt as a tool of enslavement for the masses and a tool of leverage for the elite. And it uses inflation as a stealth mechanism to transfer wealth from the savers to the owners. To break free, you must stop thinking like the person this system was designed to control. You must reject their definitions of assets, debt, and savings. You must learn to play the game by their rules, not yours, or better yet, create a game of your own. Let's examine the psychological battlefield where your attention is the ultimate prize. While trapped in a system of extractive taxes, predatory debt, and corrosive inflation, a war is waged for your mind. The system uses the modern media landscape to distract and pacify you into compliance. Your attention is the most valuable commodity. Media companies engineer platforms to be addictive, selling your attention to the highest bidder. It builds a comfortable cell around your consciousness so you never notice the bars. One of the media's most effective tools is the constant cultivation of outrage. The algorithms that govern your feeds have learned a simple truth: anger generates engagement. A story that makes you indignant or fearful is far more likely to be clicked, commented on, and shared than nuanced journalism. The media has transformed into a perpetual outrage machine, constantly searching for new conflicts and new wedges to drive between people. It manufactures crises, sensationalizes disagreements, and reduces complex issues to emotionally charged binaries. This strategy serves a diabolical purpose. It keeps the population divided and fighting amongst itself. You're encouraged to direct your anger not at the system exploiting you, but at your neighbors who vote differently, who have different backgrounds or belong to different demographics. The media creates a phantom enemy: the liberal, the conservative, the immigrant, the elite, the poor, ensuring you aim your arrows horizontally at your fellow citizens rather than vertically at the architects of the system. A population at war with itself will never unite to challenge its rulers. Consider the issues dominating headlines. They are emotionally charged social issues with little bearing on economic structures that dictate your quality of life. While you're consumed by these battles, the real consensus in power continues. Tax loopholes for the super rich remain open. Money printing devalues your savings. Deregulation favors massive corporations and proceeds without interruption. The outrage machine is a smokescreen, a spectacular diversion providing cover for quiet economic looting. This constant emotional arousal is mentally and spiritually exhausting. It keeps you in fight-or-flight mode, draining your energy and clouding your judgment. It becomes impossible to think clearly when your brain is bombarded with stimuli designed to trigger primal fears and angers. You become addicted to the cycle of outrage and validation, scrolling for the next hit of righteous indignation. This is a deliberate strategy to keep you agitated, powerless, and focused on the wrong enemy, preventing the mental clarity required to diagnose your predicament and plan your escape. In a world where traditional sources of meaning and community have eroded, the system has provided a new religion: the worship of celebrity. The media elevates a pantheon of actors, musicians, athletes, and influencers to the status of gods, dedicating vast resources to chronicling their every move, relationship, and purchase. Their lives are presented as an aspirational fantasy, a glittering spectacle of wealth, beauty, and fame that mesmerizes the public. You are encouraged to invest your time, energy, and emotional capital in the lives of these strangers, following their dramas as if they were your own. This obsession serves as a powerful opiate, numbing you to the pains and frustrations of your own existence. This cult of celebrity works as a potent form of misdirection. It presents an entirely false image of what wealth and success look like. You are shown the lavish lifestyles, the private jets, the mansions, the designer clothes, but you are rarely shown the mechanics of how that wealth was truly built and, more importantly, how it is maintained. The focus is always on the consumption, not the production. This creates the illusion that wealth is a matter of fame, talent, or luck, rather than a result of understanding and manipulating systems of ownership, leverage, and taxation. It teaches you to dream of being discovered, not to dream of building an enterprise. Furthermore, the personal lives of celebrities are offered up as a national soap opera, a scripted drama that consumes the attention of millions. Their feuds, their breakups, and their scandals become the subject of intense public debate and analysis, dominating conversations and media cycles for days or weeks at a time. This is a deliberate channeling of your natural human desire for story and community into a completely unproductive and trivial domain. While you are deeply invested in the romantic entanglements of two multimillionaires you will never meet, your own financial future is being decided in boardrooms and legislative chambers that you are paying no attention to. The ultimate function of celebrity worship,